show here. All right, we are live. Welcome to the Bitcoin Daily Show, live interviews. The Daily Show runs on X Spaces, 8 to 10 a.m. Every day for like the last 270, 280 days. We're coming up on 300, have not missed a day, a birthday, a holiday, a sick day. We have, and with all the hosts working together, I'm one of the 12 hosts that now put on the Bitcoin Daily. We got a team of about 25 people that put on great 2 hours of content every morning. But we will get some amazing guest speakers. Jason was one of them recently and working on an amazing project. And he's just got so much stuff coming to a head with the convention coming up. And I was hoping I could get you on before the convention so we can kind of help build momentum to the leading up to the Nashville convention. And then, of course, with your project as well. I'd love to hear more about it. So anyway, welcome to the show, Jason. How are you doing today?
Thanks. You're doing great. This is a first really for me to be on a live stream. So I'm excited to be here and breaking new ground and every day doing more and more firsts. And it's just so exciting.
Oh, I know, man. I don't even know where to start as far as what we'll talk about today, because you're working on so many great things. I think we encountered one another because Kendall seems to know everybody on earth in Bitcoin. And of course, she's the host of the Monday show. She is the queen of meetups. She is a networking fiend. I mean, she loves the in-person meetup and really is good at it. And so she said, Craig, I know you're running some meetups down in Louisiana. You need to get on this group. We're having a meetup space at the Nashville conference. They're giving us 2 tables. And then I think you're kind of organizing that, heading that up. Maybe can you give us a little heads up on that? I know that's not what your primary focus is. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to share what's going on in Nashville with everybody.
Yeah, so I'm helping to set up a booth. It's a 16-foot wide booth where it's basically all dedicated to Bitcoin meetups. When you're there, you'll see a giant map of the world, and above that it says Bitcoin meetups. We actually have the plan to have kind of a fun little interactive part to it where you'll see a bunch of large orange dots. So there's little orange stickers placed all over the map, and those represent different Bitcoin meetups. We're going to write the name of the Bitcoin meetup for that location. And then everybody, and I mean everybody at the conference, should come there, find a little white sticker, a little bit smaller than the orange ones, and write their name on that, and then go up to the map and stick it on wherever they're from. You can use your NIM if you prefer that. You are there in person though, but it's whatever you're comfortable with, and put that up there. And so eventually by the end of the conference, it'll just be full of a bunch of white dots. And if you run a Bitcoin meetup and you don't see your meetup represented on there, tell us. We'll add another orange dot to the map. So it'll just demonstrate as people just pass by just how many Bitcoiners there are, where we're all coming from. Of course, I expect North America to get really, really packed with dots, but yeah, and just show that there are so many of us all over the place, and we just need to connect together with each other. It'll be a great visual of the social layer of Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I think is being born right now is that social layer. We talked about that on the show and how critical that is. Because other than that, you might just be here because you're here to make some money. But that's kind of really the shallowest part of Bitcoin is making money. It's so much better than that. And the people in the social layer, really, when you get to know them, you're just like, oh my gosh, I think I found my family.
In fact, I'll go on to say that if you're here to make more dollars or more whatever fiat, you don't understand yet even what Bitcoin is. You don't know what it is that you are holding in your hands. When you really understand it, it's like this meme I saw once. It said, you hold Bitcoin to make more dollars. I hold Bitcoin to have less dollars. We are not the same. Like,
oh, I love it. I love it.
And that's I hold Bitcoin to get rid of any fiat I have in our household. We refer to it as filthy fiat, and even my kids will they'll get like a $10 bill or something from their grandma for a birthday, and they'll immediately be like, I don't want this. Can I have $10 of sats instead? So
So 6 kids, man, that's amazing. How old are they? What made y'all decide that? Y'all always wanted a big family, or what's the?
Yeah, so I'm actually a third child of 6. My wife is a second child of 7, so we're used to it. We weren't planning on 6 kids. We didn't really have a plan to begin with. Mainly, we had 4 boys all in a row. Then in 2014 had our one and only girl, still one and only girl. So at 5 kids, we thought we were done. And so the age ranges, my oldest is 17, and then my one girl is 10, and then after her, we, like I said, we thought we were done, but then last year around this time we got a surprise, and so last January 2nd, our little 6-month-old was born, another boy, a 5th boy. So so now I got the 5 boys, 1 girl, with that one outlier there, the 5 together, and the other
Tell you what,
afterwards. Yeah.
I feel sorry for that guy that comes to date her. She's going to have some brothers tearing him up.
I genuinely hope so.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fantastic. And you're in Tennessee, right? Outside of Chattanooga. Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, just south of Chattanooga. I'm actually in Georgia, a little town called Rossville, just about half hour south of Chattanooga.
Okay.
And so I run the Bitcoin meetup there, actually, in Chattanooga.
Oh, how is that? How is Chattanooga as far as just a Bitcoin hub, or how was the Bitcoin scene there?
It's still small, but we got some really dedicated people, some people I absolutely love. I was just contemplating whether I should do some shout outs, but I know I'll forget somebody, and I hate to do that. But no, we got some really good dedicated people there at our meetup is called Bitcoin Chat for the Bitcoin Chattanooga. And so like I said, it's kind of small. The crypto scene is still pretty dominant. People there to make more dollars. And there are a few other crypto meetups, but back in late 2021, when I started Bitcoin Chat, I first just checked to see if there was any if there are any other meetups that were already doing what I was looking for. Found one that was still active, and it had, oh goodness, it had 40 or 50 people showing up to it, and it was all about crypto, all about which cryptos should you flip next in order to make a quick buck. And I even heard a few people say there, oh yeah, Bitcoin is boomer tech, and it's dinosaur crypto and things like that. And so I thought, okay, yeah, I'm like, okay, this is not the meetup for me. And so then I just started it myself. And for a long time, it was me, my oldest son, my now 17-year-old son. He was supporting me, and then we'd have like one other person who would show up. And that's after I like put flyers around town and posted it online on meetup.com and stuff like that. So it took a little while before we really got going.
And when was this? What year was it?
This was late 2021, and it wasn't until early 2022 when start getting 2, 3 people, 5 people. It was like mid 2022. We had 12 people, and it was just great. Then April of 2023, we had 17 people. It was a new record. And then we broke that. We smashed that record, really. This last April for our halving party, we had 26 people.
Wow, so, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Man, it's so exciting to hear that. And I love the timeline that you just laid out there. I think you should kind of these records that you're trying to break.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I just now realized as you were saying that, like, oh, I really should keep some kind of record, journal, history book or something of Bitcoin Chat. That could be very valuable later. I never even thought of it till right now.
I would love to do even a national chart so we can see each one grow and have like a leaderboard. And I don't know, I always thought it would be cool to do something like that because I love to see the community grow. And, obviously meetups are important to me, even though it's not my primary thing. I don't know. I think I just need it. I need to get out. I can't live online all the time. And so it's important that I get out and meet people.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about this. This seems like a social media app to some degree. I know it's like where this intersects this and intersects this. Can you kind of roll us through? Maybe just give us the elevator pitch, which would be the 10,000 feet up, and then we can work our way down to what you're working on.
Yeah. So it's called Satlantis. You can go to the website satlantis.io. It's like Atlantis with a S at the beginning. It is built on Nostr, and it's a travel and community social network. Think of it like a combination, like you said, all this intersection of TripAdvisor, Instagram, and Facebook groups, Nomad List, just a lot of those things. So kind of mixing together the benefits, the utility that you get from things like TripAdvisor and Nomad List, things that tell you what is going on in the community, and Meetup.com as well. Things that tell you what's going on in the community with more of a social focus to it. So you can really get to know the people who live there, who have been there for decades or something, and really know the place. So, I mean, for example, you can go onto something, TripAdvisor, you can look at Google Places for a good restaurant to visit while you're visiting family or something. And you can find some good reviews. But you, first of all, don't know if those reviews are legitimate. You don't know if they are relevant to you. Do those people have the same kind of values as you? And they're not personal to you. Like, maybe they might be kind of old, and maybe they're just, like I said, they're not relevant. So with Satlantis, we're planning on fixing that. For one thing, easily, if there's, the social aspect of it will make it so that you can chat with people on Satlantis. The chat feature isn't available just yet, but we're working on that. And so even if there's some place that has like a 3.8 star rating or something, and you talk to people on there, they can still tell you, oh, no, like, don't trust it. I would give it 6 stars if I could. That place is amazing. You can actually talk to people right there on that page. But kind of more importantly and more revolutionary about it really is we're going to use Noster to build a social graph, like to leverage the person's social graph to then show them reviews of everything, of places and that anywhere they can go, anything they can do. Reviews from people who they follow and perhaps other people that they follow, and also reviews from other people can be zapped and rewarded if it's a really, really great, like really well written review is really helpful. So that way the reviews can be more informative, more relevant, and can be shown to you. And these are people who you follow, people who you already like. They might be a close friend of yours. They might be somebody you admire, an author or something that you like their books. And they, and so when they gave something 5 stars, well, chances are you're going to like it too. And so you'll see all those reviews first. And so, we're going to do all this to kind of mix, not just put social, like slap social on top of a TripAdvisor. It's not that. It's really integrated together, really kind of woven together. So it's not just like, the two things side by side on the same page. It's not that simple. It's a lot more than that. If that makes sense. Oh, I'm not able to hear you. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hey, who's the brainchild of all this, or who's kind of putting all? Is it the team effort, or?
So Alexander Svetsky, he thought of this. You'll have to ask him for all the details, but I've heard him say in podcasts, and he told me also that he's talked with other people. Of course, he's traveled a whole lot all around the world. He's in Europe right now, I think, and he was thinking, like, wouldn't it be great if we had something that could provide all this value to us, make it so much easier, just all in one place. Just, want to go someplace, just click on that city. There's all the information you need. And I know initially somebody had approached him about using AI to help with planning out trips, but so before this, our whole team was working on another project called the Spirit of Satoshi, and then earlier this year we switched gears from Spirit of Satoshi to Satlantis, and we learned a lot of things about AI. So much so that I don't like calling AI artificial intelligence, because there's nothing intelligent about it. I like calling it automatic information. That's just me.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. No, it's still AI. Still works. But automatic information, because that's all it's doing. It's like if you've used Gmail before and you're writing an email, and so I think some other email services do this too, but they and it'll start to finish your sentence for you. Say, oh, you mean this. So if you start to say, have a great day, let me know if you have any, and it'll say, have any questions. It will just pop up on the screen. AI is basically like that, but a whole lot more, just a lot bigger. It's autocomplete like that. Just by looking at what's the likelihood of one word being followed by the next word being followed by another word, and so on. So there's no intelligence there at all. And so that could become disastrous for someone trying to visit a city, and they ask, okay, what's the best thing for me to do in that city? And it just strings together something. There's another thing that Svetsky said. I forget if this was in Prague or at in Madeira or something, but at one conference he said that there's a myth that AI hallucinates 20% of the time, and it's right 80% of the time. And so like occasionally 20% of the time you'll just get a weird answer or something. He said, no, that's a myth. In reality, AI hallucinates 100% of the time. Just 80% of the time, it just so happens to be right.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that comes from all the training and stuff that people put into it. Yeah, he's like, okay, it would be a bad idea to use AI to help people with travel. But he was also starting to go down the Nostr rabbit hole and see the value there in Nostr at that same time. And it was like, whoa, wait a second. What if we leverage people's social graphs and built something like TripAdvisor and like Facebook groups and stuff, or Google Places and things, but on top of Nostr and utilizing all the connections there and stuff, and people can have one, like the magic of Nostr is you can have one account across several different apps, and even if you delete one app, all your followers, all the people you're following, all your posts, all your likes, all your zaps, everything is still right there in the other app. And so he saw the power of that and wanted to build that in this travel, well, initially travel client, Nostr client, but it also works wonderfully for someone like me. I have 6 kids. I don't travel very often. It is difficult to do that. But I still want to know what's going on in my city. I want to know what's happening here. I want to, like, just for an example, we also homeschool. My superhero of a wife, she homeschools all our kids, and we're part of a homeschool association. I want to publish that on there. I want to put events, like public events that they're doing. I want to be able to put that on Satlantis. And so I also want people who live together to also live in the same community near each other to also have a place where they can communicate all those things together, the things that are happening, maybe job opportunities, Bitcoin events, anything.
Now, when you say social graph, how are you using that term, or what does that mean in today's, social layer technology?
Social graph, everyone you're following and everyone they're following, as well. Yeah, just all the people, connecting all the different people in the network together. So, kind of those degrees of separation, you could say.
Right. So if I was a homeschooler and I had a lot of kids and I like Twitter, these are all the different, I guess, buckets of people I belong to. And so you're saying your algorithm or software kind of takes all that into consideration when making recommendations?
It'll organize the reviews that way. We are also planning on creating several different algorithms and letting the user decide which one do they want, or none. Do they want Satlantis to give them things? Now, the feed of like regular posts, that'll just be, most likely just be by date, and same with like events happening in your area. But when it comes to reviews for different businesses and other things around your town, so it doesn't have to be businesses, you could also give a 4-star review for a park or something. For all of those, we'll have that option available for people to have them organized according to, the people I follow, they all gave this really high rating, or other people who they follow who are all kind of interested in similar kinds of things. So we're referring to this as social as a service. So kind of flipping on its head the idea that as a user you are the product. No, we're turning it back to you are the customer, and we are here to serve you, to point you in the best directions possible, to give you the best experience as possible, whether this is a city you live in or a city you're just visiting.
Yeah. Now, how did you? Maybe let's back up a little and where did you come from? How did your story get you here? Or you went to school? You were born and raised in Georgia?
No.
So from?
My dad was an entrepreneur. He would make computer game businesses. My claim to fame, if you know what an MMORPG is, do you know what those are?
What? No, go ahead. What is that?
MMORPG is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. It's like where you play a little character, and like the most popular one right now, I think, is World of Warcraft.
Yes.
The very first one ever, back mid '96. I was 11 years old. I just dated myself. Whatever. But was a game called Meridian 59, and that was primarily made by my dad and a couple of his brothers and some friends of his. But yeah, so my claim to fame is my dad made the very first MMO.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So thanks. But he would do that, and he was have a lot of other entrepreneurial ventures, and that would move us around a lot. So I was actually born a little town near Portland, Oregon. Moved around a bunch. One time all the way over to Toronto, Canada, then back to Oregon. Then lived for a few years in a town called Pleasanton, California, so near the San Francisco Bay Area. From there, moved to Austin, Texas, where I graduated from high school. And
Nice.
then went to college for 1 year out in Virginia. It's actually where I met my wife. Then spent some time before marrying my wife. I spent some time doing some mission work for my church. Then went and got married. Her family lives in Kentucky, so we lived there for a time. And our marriage was also just trying to find some good stable footing. Like I said earlier, we have a lot of kids. We both grew up in large families, and so kids were always just kind of a given. We knew that it was going to happen. We both wanted kids really badly, and so let's see. So yeah, and then we ended up moving around a bunch from Kentucky to back to Texas, then even at one point a little town in northern Utah, Logan, Utah. Beautiful place there, but then but a little too cold. But then and from there to a lot of different places. Well, then moved out here, not from Logan, but after a bunch of other places, because we had family. My brother had moved out here, and so we're like, let's move closer to family. So moved out here and been here since 2014. So about just over 10 years now that we lived out here. And I was still. I was struggling for many years to know what I wanted to do for a career. Like in high school, I didn't know what to do. In college, I just took some general courses and just kind of barely scraped by. And I've never been academic, never been a good person in the classroom. And I just wasn't sure what to. So I was just taking this job, taking that job. Sometimes, a lot of times, they'd be like temporary jobs. Like, okay, now the job is finished, and everyone is let go, kind of thing. And so I didn't really have a stable career for a long time, and I was just always keeping my eyes open for something. What I've always driven me, was always interested me, is doing something to help change the world from the inside out, like from individuals, from the individual level on up. But I did get pretty interested in a lot of political things and just trying to figure out what exactly was wrong with the world, diagnose a problem first before trying to think of solutions. And I guess one thing that I remember harping on about for many years was always being, I guess, so frustrated with closed-mindedness. I grew up in a Christian household. Still, I'm Christian, and reading the Pharisees talking to Jesus in the New Testament and stuff, and just being like, how can they be so so closed-minded? It would always infuriate me. My soapbox all the time was telling people, just give this a chance, whatever it was, whatever new thing it was that I knew that I believed was a good thing. Just give this thing a chance and just investigate it. One of my favorite sayings is from, at least it's attributed to Albert Einstein. It is I just lost the first couple words of it. Hang on, sorry. Investigation, or so condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
Yeah.
And so, so I'd be tearing my hair out that people are condemning things without investigating them. So, that's all.
Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think that comes from, as far as people being, I guess, just okay with holding tightly to a belief that's not well researched? Is that, I guess, is it just like a normal default human condition? And how do you break out of it, or how did you break out of it? Were you born that way, or is it something?
I don't think anyone's born that way. So why is that? I think people feel safe. in those kind of conditions. They find out something that works for them. There's a great line from the movie the Men in Black, the very first one, where Tommy Lee Jones' character Kay is talking to help me out here.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see him. I know a lot of other movies he's in. I, Robot, Hitch, whatever. Will Smith's character.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's saying, well, Will Smith's character says, well, why don't just tell everybody about these aliens? People are smart; they can handle it. And Kay says a line I'm not sure if I agree with this part, but he says the person is smart, people are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. Then he goes on to say, 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew we were alone on this planet. And then kind of turns away and thoughtfully says, imagine what you'll know tomorrow. And that always hit me so strong. And some of those facts, like 500 years ago, no, there were some weirdos who thought the Earth was flat, but for the most part, it was common knowledge the Earth was spherical. You could prove that without sailing across the Atlantic. But still, his point being, imagine what you'll know tomorrow. Yeah. And my parents encouraged that type of thinking and research. But I've not been perfect with that, not by a long shot. There've been lots of times where I've clung tightly to something and not opened my eyes to it. In fact, so that takes me to when I first discovered Bitcoin. Well, first time I heard about it was like sometime early, I want to say February or something of 2014. I was watching a YouTube video, and the YouTube video was just saying, the guy on it was just saying, they're going through different news things and different things people in the comments had told him. And he said, now a lot of you have asked about this thing called Bitcoin. And should I invest in it? Should I not? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme. Don't touch it. And so I'd never heard the word before. I'm like, okay, note to self. It's a scam. Right. If I ever see it again, ignore it. I actually thought it was a 21st century version of the Nigerian print scam.
Right. And that was like it at first.
Yeah. And so I just assumed that. Well, then about a year and a half later, I remember it was actually 9 years ago exactly from yesterday, because it was my brother's birthday yesterday. That's how I remember to tie the date to it. But I was working in a little office here in or nearby in Chattanooga, where we help people like prepare for retirement and stuff. And my boss then also ran a local radio show, and he wanted me to look up articles that would help him, that he can comment on his radio show. So I went on to marketwatch.com and was just looking through different things. And while I was doing that, I saw this one article about Bitcoin. I mean, it was like a really 2 or 3 paragraph long article. It was really short. And my first thought was, Bitcoin? How is that even still a thing? And
how has it survived this long?
Yeah. And why are they talking about it on MarketWatch? Why are they legitimizing this thing? Oh, it's so awful. And I skimmed the article real quick and then hit the back button. And as I did, it was like this little voice in my head, little thought was like, condemnation without investigation, Jason. And all those memories of all those times I had ranted and had that soapbox of just give it a chance, just investigate it about a bunch of different subjects, all came flooding in at once. And I felt like such a hypocrite. And this is the thing. There's actually, I said earlier, that was one of my favorite quotes. My all-time favorite quote, at least up till now, as of today, is no one knows who said this quote, but when an honest man discovers he is mistaken, he will either cease being mistaken or cease being honest. So
wow. That's a powerful one.
Yes, that's why I love it so much. And if you're clinging tightly to something, I think all of us are, but with something or many somethings that we just don't know. If you don't know, no problem, no worries. But the moment you know, you better let go. The moment someone points it out to you, you should at least look into it. Am I clinging too tightly to this? Maybe you're clinging too tightly to a true thing, to something that's actually good and true. Like there are some people who might be clinging really tightly to Bitcoin and not considering other cryptocurrencies, just for example. That's a good thing, but for a bad reason. They haven't researched those other cryptocurrencies. They haven't looked into them and found out why only stay with Bitcoin. Why are those other things necessarily always centralized and truly just garbage? But once they do the legwork to do that, then they can become they'll really be a Bitcoin maximalist and have the proof of work to show it, I guess, because they did all that research and really gave it a try, gave it a chance, and then found out for themselves. And no one can take that away from them once they know for themselves.
You know, it seems like some people, I say some people, it's most of us only change when we're faced with a hard choice, an obstacle, lots of pain that we don't, it seems like we're running from something rather than running towards something. It seems like and maybe you have been there before, but it seems like you've really made a good shift to say, I am going to run towards what I believe in and not away from something I'm afraid of. But have you always been that way, or is that something that recently has happened? It's more about that
one. My wife is a whole lot better at running towards things than from things. But I mean, like, it's happened several times where I've learned something going on in the world. Things that really make me not want to live in the United States anymore. Let's just say that. That's over the last 4 years. And I brought it up with my wife, and we talked about it. And she was still pointing out that she doesn't want to leave, and she would give her reasons and stuff. And what it really came down to was she wanted something to go towards. If there was a reason to go to something, a job opportunity, a better home, or something like that, like I don't know, something to run towards, then okay, that's good. But I was just running from something, which is a really great way of getting yourself in more trouble than you were in. I know I've been giving a lot of quotes. There's another one from a YouTube video. It's a long time ago. They said that there's
coming, man. I love these quotes.
This one I'll attribute to a guy named Brett Wynn. He did this old YouTube channel. I don't think he made any videos in years, called What You Ought to Know. I used to watch all the time. But this actually right after the 2008 financial crisis. So around the same time Satoshi was creating Bitcoin, this guy made this video, and he said sarcastically, because there's no disaster that immediate swift wrong action can't make worse. It's
true.
Yeah, that's been a fun one that I've put a lot of time since. And he was talking about the bailouts and stuff. They're like, oh, quick, disaster, quick, react. And it made things worse. Well, or did it? Because Satoshi then replied to that reaction and made Bitcoin, and here we are today. So it all turned out well in the end. Well, so far.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me. This is from Weston, the Tuesday host. He says, and I forget, it's one of the razors. It says, don't attribute to malice what can be attributed to incompetence.
I was reminded of that one last Friday, Saturday. Was it?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, at the Trump rally and everything. Yeah, I had to remember that. I was attributing malice immediately, but or incompetence. I still have not decided yet. I'm just keeping my mind open. Like I was saying, keeping my mind open, finding out what might be the truth. I mean, oh goodness, here's a fail of mine. I was totally cheering on going into Afghanistan and stuff after 9/11. After all those things happened, I was like, oh yeah, Bush is the man, and we totally need to go get those terrorists. And yeah, because I was watching the lamestream media, and just taking a hook, line, and sinker. Just accepting what I was being told, rather than being a critical thinker, stepping back, saying, wait, let's slow down a bit here and wait for more information to come out. But no, people like, no, they're going to attack us again if we do, so we have to act now. But yeah, there's no disaster that is immediate, swift, wrong action can't make worse.
Yeah.
So, boy, did we ever.
I grew up with Fox News in the background. It was just like the elevator music to my home, my childhood home. My parents just left it on nonstop. Wow. And now that I've grown up, I don't have any news media at all. It's literally whatever is on Twitter. That is my news feed. But I still have a lot of friends that are in that camp. And when I talk to them, it's almost like they are just repeating exactly what they heard, word for word. And I know they haven't taken the time to form their own opinion. they're just being fed what to say. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like they're still plugged in. They're plugged into a side I was in, so I'm a little more empathetic, I guess, towards them. But then I also have friends in Austin that I'm a huge Tesla fan, and so those are a little more, tree huggers, left leaning kind of stuff. But then I just start to see, like, oh my gosh, both sides are plugged in and being told what to think. But when I hang around the Bitcoin community, I don't know. It's like Bitcoin's a great filter. To get through the Bitcoin filter, you have to have gotten to the point where you do your own work, proof of work,
Mm-hmm.
your own homework, do your own research. It's one thing I love about the Bitcoin community is they're independent minded. They're independent thinkers, and they're
Yes.
and they're super harsh on you. You make a mistake, you probably know. Trying to gross Atlantis, man, they'll tear you a new one if it looks like you're going towards a crypto path or something like that.
Uh-huh. And it's well, I shouldn't say never, but it is rarely out of malice. It's rarely out of just trying to be cruel, just trying to be an online bully or whatever like that. No, they want to see the world get better. I have 6 kids, and I want this world to be better for them than it was for me. They have kids, or they might have kids one day. They want the world to be better tomorrow, or preferably tomorrow, than it is today. And so that's like you're warning someone to you're in this house of a whole bunch made out of just a bunch of dry wood or something. You see someone playing with matches with a bunch of like dry hay right there in front of them, trying to light a fire in the living room. Like, no, stop. You're not gonna. Okay, well, you see, it's not a very good idea to and have this long patient talk with them. They're lighting the match right there. Sometimes you got to whack it out of their hand and be pretty harsh. I'm speaking as a dad here. Sometimes you have to you have to act like that to that comes off mean, comes off toxic, in order to save everyone else living in the house, so to speak. Not that one person going off from Bitcoin to crypto or something will ruin all of Bitcoin, but it could definitely ruin their life and the lives of their children. And it is one less person on the real mission of Bitcoin.
Right.
And so, and then other times, so sometimes you have to be harsh. Other times you have to let them hurt themselves. You
Gotta let them touch
you
the stove.
go ahead. What was it?
You gotta let them touch the hot stove.
Yes, exactly.
That is a great teacher. Experiences.
Yep. There's another quote. I'm full of quotes today. Another quote that I like is actually I don't know the exact quote. This is gonna be a paraphrase, but basically this is from a book that I read once that everyone is what is it? Everyone learns basically either. Oh, that's right. No, that's what it is. Everyone needs to be made humble in order to learn, but everybody either can choose to be humble or they are compelled to be humble. One or the other. So either they're like, now the stove's not that hot, and they touch it and they're compelled to be humble, or they humble themselves to the people who really know better and listen and think about it. Oh yeah, if it's hot enough to make that food that I have to blow on a bunch before it's good enough to put in my mouth, it's probably going to be so hot it'll hurt if I touch that. Okay, and they start putting that together. But so everyone has to either choose to be humble and learn a lot faster and a whole lot with a lot less pain, or can be compelled to be humble and learn through pain. As long as you learn, like pain is a wonderful teacher. So as long as you learn, you're good. Like it's not that one is fundamentally better than the other, just one is less painful than the other. But pain can be a wonderful teacher and can, I mean, if you learn through the painless way of just learning through someone else, you're listening to somebody else. You may not have actually done the work, and you may be wrong. You may be listening to the wrong person. So there is still merit to learning through hard work and pain and mistakes. So that's a.
I think the journey, the learning journey, you will step on landmines, but if you can have somebody guide you, you at least won't step on the landmines they've stepped on. And that's if you ask for the help, ask for the guidance. I love the humility piece you said there, because I often when I came in, and I don't know if you know my journey, but when I started the Bitcoin Daily Show, it was me. Now we have just a team of, I'm probably the least gifted host of all the hosts now, because they all know more about Bitcoin than me. I on the Bitcoin Daily Show, I would say I easily know the least about Bitcoin. They have gone way down that rabbit hole, and this is how I would kind of pull them up in the early days. I would say someone would ask a question, and I'm running the stage, and I would say, "Here's my kindergarten answer. Can someone please fill in the blanks and correct me where I'm wrong?" And the Bitcoiners, the OG Bitcoiners, could not help themselves. They would raise their hand to speak and say, okay, you're kind of right. But, and that's how we started the show. And before you know it, we had some of the best people in the Bitcoin space giving super high quality answers, because I was open to just giving a bonehead answer and then saying, please come correct me. And so if you approach all your learning with humility like that, the teachers will just fall out the woodworks trying to help you if you're humble and open to it. I think that's just being a good student. Bitcoin will definitely humble you.
Yeah, and you still got to be careful, as there be a lot of other teachers who will want to teach you their way that's not so good, not so right. So you got to use a lot of discernment and logic, and just as a Christian, and thinking of the words from the Bible, by their fruits you shall know them. So look at their fruits. What have they built? What have they made? How have they helped? If someone, I'm thinking of some people, even though I don't agree with everything he says, someone like Max Kaiser, who is such a blessing for this space. And he's been talking about Bitcoin pretty much constantly since like 2011 or something. And yeah, and it's like if you listen to him, then like in dollar terms, you'd be up a lot. You were doing very, very well. A lot of people didn't listen to him. A lot of people still aren't listening to him. I saw something was earlier today or yesterday where he quote tweeted something from Alex, or not quote tweeted. I don't know. He shared something from Alex Jones. It was like, I've shared Bitcoin with you before. Like, what's the problem? Why haven't you gotten on board yet? Yeah, it goes back to the old saying that everyone buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And it is true. Some people do get very lucky. Like if I first bought Bitcoin, when I first heard of it, I would have taken a major loss. And it was early 2014. By the time I actually first bought Bitcoin, which the anniversary of that's coming up on the 26th at the conference, actually. Yeah, so from the equivalent of yesterday to the 26th, I was just every day multiple Andreas Antonopoulos videos and being like, but what if the government bans it? What if the internet goes down? But what? And just hitting it with all these different thoughts and messaging some people on different like forums and stuff. Shout out to the One Vortex. He was massively helpful to me back then. And I doubt he remembers. This is 2015. And then yeah, so after like a week and a half or something of just all of that, and I was like, okay, I'll buy $5 worth. And one full Bitcoin was like $250 or something. So some people luck out. Yeah, some people hear about it at the top, don't buy it, and then end up buying in close to the bottom. Of course, struggling father of 5, I wasn't able to buy tons, but still, that $5 is not $5 anymore.
That's right. That's right. How do you answer that question, as far as like maybe I'll throw a few out there, because I love to hear the answer to these early questions, like, well, what happens to your Bitcoin when the internet goes out? How do you answer that one?
The internet is much bigger and much more complex than we like to give it credit for. There is, despite what some people will say, some conspiracy theorists. I say that carefully because I'm a conspiracy theorist in a lot of ways for a lot of things. But there's no on-off switch for the entire internet. There's all sorts of other things like mesh networks and there's a lot of other ways that people can send information. So if it does go out in your area, there's still ways of getting messages out, and that's all Bitcoin needs. It just needs a communications medium. That's it. So cell phones, regular landline phones, Morse code, semaphore if you need it, carrier pigeons if you can. It needs some kind of communications medium, and then it works. Yeah. So granted, if something catastrophic happened that totally took down the internet across the board, we went back in technology by 500 years or more in a day. We did that. We'd have much bigger problems on our hands, but all the records of Bitcoin would still be there, waiting for us to turn them back on. Everything would be there. So once everything starts getting rebuilt and connections start being made again, every single node on the network has a copy, and it would just start right back up. So all of us Bitcoiners need to be patient, and also help to rebuild everything. But then I didn't even mention satellites. There's also satellites and stuff. So it would be. It's basically outside the realm of possibility, in my opinion, for the entire internet to go down globally, but certainly impossible for any mortal, fallible individual or group of individuals, government, bank, or anything like that to take down all of Bitcoin and keep it down. Even in the wildest dreams, they managed to take it all down for a day. It's like that meme of the Simpsons meme. Mo throws Barney out of the bar, and he's like, wiping his hands off like that, and then Barney shows up right behind him.
Everywhere.
Yeah, Bitcoin's just like that. And so here's a saying, another quote, but this one I guess I'll say came from me. Being a very religious person, a Christian, I always say that there's no mortal power, no power on earth. Yeah, I'll say it like this. There's no power on earth that can take down Bitcoin. And there's no power in heaven that would.
Yeah.
Because Bitcoin is such a good thing. Mind you, God could take down Bitcoin that fast and keep it down, not break a sweat or anything. But Bitcoin is doing so much good for the world. It is not just financially. Yes, it's doing that. It's lifting people out of poverty, but and helping people save for their future and creating generational wealth and all that. And then it's also teaching. This is the thing actually that got me to stay in Bitcoin. People say they came for the blank, but they stayed for the blank. I came because I saw what it could do. It could end the Federal Reserve. It could take down corruption and tyranny across the world. I stayed because of low time preference. When I listened to an audiobook of the Bitcoin Standard and learned about low time preference, I'd never heard the term before, and my mind was absolutely blown. When people's time preference lowers, they think more about the future, they build civilization more, they make better decisions, they treat each other better. I was going to say more kindly, and while that's true, sometimes that kindness is still slapping the match out of the person's hand. It may be kind in the long run, but seem harsh in the short run. And like all that good that Bitcoin is doing for people. Remember what I said a long time ago? I've always been interested in changing the world from the inside out, from the individual level outward. Bitcoin is doing that. And why would a loving God, who, again, take to religious and everything, loving God who sent his son to die for us and stuff, and even if you're not Christian, maybe you believe in God, maybe you're an atheist or agnostic, highly respect you if you're on the freedom mission for Bitcoin still. And so, but this is just, if you are one of those people, humor me for a bit. That why would an all-powerful and all-loving God use all that power to destroy something that does so much good? God never would. Again, in my opinion, my understanding, and so that solidified me from like that's when in 2018, listening to the Bitcoin Standard, that was when I decided, like, okay, this needs to be more than a hobby. Like Bitcoin needs to be more than just a side little thing. At the time, from early 2017 to late 2021, I was a FedEx delivery driver. And during that time, that gave me many hours every day to listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks. And so that's when I went steeply down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I learned a lot. And so it was that time where I was like, okay, I need to do more in the Bitcoin space. I couldn't do much at the time, just working all the time. I started a group. There's a social media app called MeWe. I don't know if you've heard of it. A lot of people haven't, but just mewe.com. Yeah. It's kind of in the same realm as like Gab and Parler and stuff, where it's still centralized, but they're trying to recreate the model of Facebook in MeWe's case, trying to recreate the model of Facebook, but with the promise, the assurance that they were never going to censor you and never going to kick you off their platform and stuff. Of course, then the law got involved, and they're like, well, okay, we will have to if you're sharing this kind of content, but for everyone else, like, not going to take a political stance. Well, then, and so different things happen. Now, last I heard, they were trying to integrate with Polkadot or something, and that's when I was just like, no, guys, I'm done. But I created I created a group on there specifically for Bitcoin maximalists, but not only for Bitcoin max, for anyone who's interested in Bitcoin, so people could get on there and join it and ask their questions about Bitcoin. Just have a free place where they can ask anything at all, and people would post news and other resources and stuff, to good educational resources on there. It was a good place and grew to like almost 7,000 members. Since then, I've left MeWe entirely and handed the reins over to somebody else. But for that group, now I'm like on Nostr most of the time, and Twitter now and then. But at the time when I was working at FedEx, that's all I could do. I just wanted to give back to the community in some way. Want to do something, to build something, do something, because I'm like, this mission, it has to be done, and we have to get the word out there to as many people as possible. The Titanic is sinking, and sure, I got my seat on a life raft, but there's still people in the dining hall thinking nothing's wrong, thinking nothing happened. Right. I got to go there and raise a warning voice and go tell people about this, and I was not prepared for the amount of rejection early on. People, nah, no, inflation's a good thing, and nah, Bitcoin's only meant for criminals, and nah, it's hurting the environment, and all these things that we've all heard. I have a. Oh, go ahead. I've been talking a lot, so yeah.
Yeah, so I can tell you have the heart of an evangelist, and I know that, just a little I've heard about you speak about your Christian faith and upbringing. It's been shocking to me as well, because I grew up, I went to an all-boy Catholic school, was raised in the church, and was very active in it. I'd even considered being a priest at some point. And now that I'm in the Bitcoin, I am shocked at how many Christians are not just clamoring to claim Bitcoin as God's money, because it's just dripping of virtue in every direction. And it's like, when I talk to my guys in church, it's just like, it's almost just the opposite. And I'm hoping that more Christians start to pile in and understand that it's almost like they're afraid to anger the dollar and tax gods that they're strapped to right now. But maybe speak on that topic a little bit, about how your faith plays a role in Bitcoin, so that maybe if there's some Christians out there right now, or people of faith listening, they can kind of maybe identify with you a little in that part of your journey.
Yeah. Well, first, what was coming to mind was that there are a lot of Bitcoiners who didn't really have much of an opinion about God, didn't really have much of a spiritual journey. There's a guy actually who used to attend our meetups. Then he moved out to California. So I hope he's doing well out there. Several times when he'd be asked at our meetups by somebody who was brand new to Bitcoin and brand new to the meetups, they'd say, "So what is Bitcoin?" They'd ask him, and the first thing he'd say is, "Oh, the first thing you should understand is Bitcoin is a spiritual journey. Like, yes, it's money and stuff, but it is a spiritual journey. It will also take you on a spiritual journey, but yeah, it is one." That or you go on and tell about all the ways he changed. He was in I won't put words in his mouth, actually. I was going to tell a few of his, bits of his story, but yeah, just a lot of ways that he changed for the better, that just helped him feel more fulfilled, closer to God, finding God in the first place, actually. Who was it? There's something I was reading once where it was saying that, there's so many things I've read, it all blurs together in my brain, but that Bitcoin is a lot of people's first glimpse at purity, something absolutely pure. Like we can look at pure gold. Is it really pure? There might be some tiny little things in it, or a pure diamond or something else like that. But when we look at something that is absolutely pure, absolutely true, can never be false, it can never have any blemishes, it does something to people. It's like a mirror that shows us our soul. You could think of it kind of like that. Maybe that's a little
Oh, that's good.
okay, good. I was thinking that might be a little parabolic there, but maybe not. And especially how people react to it. Some of my one of my brothers once said was, when someone comes across something, or the way he said it is long before I discovered Bitcoin, maybe even before Bitcoin was invented. But he said that imagine the perfect sermon, like someone in a church who says exactly the right words, and there's hundreds of people listening to him. So it'd be perfectly right for that woman, and perfectly right for that child, and perfectly right for you, and just like that. How people would react to that perfect sermon would be nothing more than a reflection of who they are. Because the sermon's perfect. It shouldn't be changed at all, not one iota. Not to say that the code of Bitcoin is perfect. It's had its flaws, it's had its issues, and things are being added to it and improved upon. But the concept of Bitcoin, this unchangeable money, that fact that's unchangeable, the fact that it can never confirm a fraudulent transaction, you can never. Yesterday, I think I saw a tweet from Robert Breedlove where he said, Bitcoin is a language that you can, where it's impossible to lie. It was something like that. It's impossible to lie in the language of Bitcoin. And when people see that, they like, I guess who they are really starts to shine out. Do they? Now it's fine if they react with, I don't know, that sounds too good to be true, and they kind of shrug it off. That's one thing, because when we've seen so many counterfeits, when we've seen so much darkness all the time, so much nastiness in the world, we see something else claiming for the millionth time that it's this great thing, and people are quickly go, nah, no, it's not. I personally believe a lot of people felt that way 2,000 years ago in the Jerusalem area. They were. I know for a fact there were many other people who claimed to be the promised Messiah and stuff, that they were going to free them from the Romans and everything. And then this one guy comes up and says, yeah, I'm the Messiah. And people are like, really? Seriously? You got a ragtag bunch of like 12 guys and a couple other people following you? And like, okay, sure, you can feed 5,000 people with some bread and fish. Great. Where's the army? Come on, when are you going to take down Rome? And putting their own interpretation on it. And people do the same thing when they come across something like Bitcoin, not to equate Bitcoin and Jesus Christ, no, but they are both pure without the capability even of lies and falsehoods in them. Bitcoin, though, is just a computer protocol. It's not savior of the universe.
Right.
But so I definitely I'll make sure that there's no other Christians out there thinking I'm blaspheming about that or anything. No, but I also believe strongly that everything that is inspired of God is like a type and shadow, kind of mimics God and Jesus Christ in a lot of ways. You can see their fingerprints in it, and I see that with Bitcoin a lot. So going back to your original question there about my experience with churches.
Let me say really quick.
Go ahead.
On just what you just said, because it made me think that Christ also did say that we would do better things than him. We would do greater things than him. And that we were blown away by the stuff he did. And he said, you just don't know what lies inside of you. And so I think inside of each of us is that godlike creator. And that's why I always encourage, especially on Tuesdays, guys, do not die with this masterpiece inside of you. And Bitcoin is a mountain of creation from cryptographers long before Satoshi, back in World War II when cryptography was born. And so you're just looking at the pinnacle of man's creation, creating similar to like God, if he's in the likeness and image of it. And so I don't think that just because, Christ himself didn't come say, here you go, that unbelievable good things can come out of men, especially when they're building on top of each other, like Bitcoin was. I mean, Bitcoin stands on a mountain of work of brilliant men. And then Satoshi almost just came, and even Satoshi himself said, it's not done. And he kind of handed it over to us and keep it going kind of thing, and then checked out. And there's been improvements. Even look at what you're building. it's a layer on top of Satoshi's work and the Lightning Network and everything else that we see, and the wallets and the hardware. And so humanity's just building a masterpiece on top of a masterpiece. And I think man is absolutely capable of doing miraculous things, that are nearly godlike in the brilliance behind it. But anyway, I just wanted to add that to what you're saying,
Yeah.
because you think of that.
And it also goes without saying that, yeah, man is capable of truly hideous things, awful things.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, but I guess the hideous and awful, the evil things, oftentimes take the spotlight. They're louder a lot of times than the really beautiful things. It's why we see on the news. It's why the news focuses. One of the reasons, I guess, why the news focuses on negative things all the time. Those negative stories sell. You tell a story about some guy, helping out a homeless stranger or something, taking him out to eat somewhere and helping him get on his feet or financially or something. Nah, they don't share that because they think that's boring, and maybe it is for a lot of people. But like I said earlier about why people cling to what they think they currently know, they think it's safer. So much of our lives are spent trying to feel safe, trying to get safe. And I mean, that's the whole story of, well, I was gonna say of Jesus Christ, but even of religion, is people trying to find trying to find ways of being free, trying to find like, okay, is there someone up there, upstairs, above me, whatever, looking out for me? So, and I can trust in him or in it or whatever. Yeah, so God can then keep me safe, and I can live free. And so that's why it's this constant tug of war between this desire of freedom and safety, and the people who the people who choose freedom, they I guess it can look like they're neglecting safety. Sometimes I guess they can. If someone jumps out of an airplane without a parachute or something, yeah, they chose freedom and neglected safety for sure.
Sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but there were a lot of other times where, I mean, this is like what faith is all about. And I don't know why I'm not normally full of quotes like this. I'm telling you, but there's one of my favorite quotes from C.S. Lewis. For anyone watching this doesn't know, he wrote like the Narnia series and a bunch of other books. In his book Mere Christianity, he says starts talking about faith and says that faith, as he means it, is the ability, or is it like the art of holding on to the things your reason once knew, despite your changing moods. So things are calm and fine, everything's good, and you know that something is true. Then things change around you, and now and you're tempted to think that thing you thought was true before isn't true anymore. This is seen very often in the Bitcoin space with hodling. You buy some Bitcoin, the price goes up, you're like, yes, okay. You read a bunch of books, you learn all this stuff, read the Bitcoin Standard and a bunch of other things, and you're like, oh my goodness, this thing can't be taken down. One thing Guy Swan likes to say is all Bitcoin needs to do to win is survive. So as long as it survives, then it'll keep on going. I can't see any way that it could be taken down. So the price may fluctuate, but it'll like overall zoomed out enough, it's just up and to the right. And then the price actually does fall. March 2020 event kind of thing happens, big plummet, and there are 80% drawdowns and stuff, and you feel that push, you feel the temptation to sell, and then maybe buy back later when it's cheaper or something like that. And so of course, if you sell, that's right when the price reverses and starts going back up. But hodling is, in my opinion, another word for faith. Not in the term of I believe, just close your eyes saying I believe, or like the little engine that could, I think I can, That's not the faith that I mean. I mean more like what C.S. Lewis said, that holding on to what your reason once knew. Back when Bitcoin was going up really nicely, going up, making new all-time highs, 70K and above, it was like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna get, get so many dollars, whatever, and get so rich. I'm gonna be so well off. And then it goes down to 58K again, and you might be tempted. You might be tested there. Well, if you hold on to what you knew before, Bitcoin just needs to survive, and it's not dying. It's not going to zero. Chill, slow down. It's okay. there's only one result, one action you can take from that. That's to stack more sats. It's cheaper now. Stack more sats. And so apply that now to your own life. What was that?
I said it's on sale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Bitcoin's on sale.
Our best stuff goes on sale. We should buy more. Double down.
Yeah, and so now apply that to your own life. Sometimes things are easy. Sometimes things are prosperous and going really well. What do you know then? Do you know, oh wow, God is up there and He's watching over us to take care of us? Oh wow, just things are going really, really good. You feel confident and good, and then something bad happens. Are you then going to say, oh, there must not be a God, or God is just cursing me, or something like that? Or are you going to hold to what you knew earlier, back when things were easier? And if you do, that's an act of faith right there. That's why I say, faith is always an action. It is an action word. It is not just the, I believe. No, it is an action. When it is an action to take when things look the worst, and to people on the outside, it looks the dumbest. Like Bitcoin's price going down, and you're buying more. Other people around you are like, what? You're just throwing your money away. Stop doing that. And then it takes off after that. Like, and so that's why I always like to equate that with faith. If it's okay if I go into your other question from earlier about my experience with Christians and stuff. While on one hand I've seen a lot of Bitcoiners who were maybe atheists or maybe just agnostic or just kind of didn't really think much about God and spirituality, now start to think about their eternal self. I was very disappointed to find that there have been very few Christians, certainly ones I know, who because of their faith in Christ, because of the kind of like looking for good things in the world and stuff, when then I show them this good thing, they turn it aside. They turn it away. Well, no, that's not really for me and stuff. And sometimes nothing really gets through to them. And that's what, I think it's just, okay. At first I thought it was like, that certain religious groups would get it before others. But I've learned since, it's my opinion now that no, it kind of transcends all of that. It doesn't really matter whether you are, like, as far as how fast you really get Bitcoin, really understand it. Your religious background, political persuasion background, and other things like that, they can result, like you can change where you stand in those ways because of Bitcoin, but those things don't seem, I haven't noticed any like correlation of a lot of Christians or a lot of Jewish people or anything else like that gravitating toward Bitcoin, despite a lot of people saying Safety Anonymous loves to talk about Bitcoin and Islam. And I always forget, so I don't want to butcher this, but there's the one term that they use in Islam, halal, and there's the other one, I'm just going blank on it. I apologize to all the Muslims listening to this. I really sincerely apologize. I'm just an ignorant American. But there's basically one saying that it goes with the law. That'd be something like gold, and other things like fiat actually goes against their law. It goes against the teachings of God, Allah, and so you'd think that they would just be swarming Bitcoin in droves, and yet they too have the same. Some of these same hangups, some of these things like, well, what if the internet goes out? What if the government bans it? What if? And I don't think it's really for me. And they see it as a gamble rather than like, no, the fiat you're in right now is a gamble. And that just takes time, I think. It's just, we can't force that on anybody. Another thing I like to say is things like this. A long time ago, I said to somebody that the kingdom of God, but this time right now I'll say Bitcoin or hyper-Bitcoinization cannot be stopped. I said before, the kingdom of God cannot be stopped, but neither can it be rushed. And so the same thing goes for hyper-Bitcoinization. So we do one at a time. We teach, we warn, we invite, but when they want to reach up and touch that hot stove, we shouldn't stop them. At least not very often. Maybe the first time or something, but then let them learn through pain.
And actually, think I think that it's now that I'm reflecting on it with you a little, at least in the Catholic faith, they're very steeped in tradition and they have a hierarchy. And so we are very used to getting the truth from a centralized authority. And this is how you think about children, about parenting,
Hmm.
about marriage. And then your job is just to understand, to learn and understand. And that can serve you. But when you have a disruptive technology like Bitcoin, that's a whole new playing field. It's like going from sea power to air power. That
Hmm.
the old laws and rules of sea power just no longer function. And a lot of these religions, I say a lot, almost every religion I've ever studied, is steeped in tradition. This is the old way. This is the way of wisdom that we want to impart upon our youth, and that does work as long as you don't have a complete paradigm shift, where when you move from sea power and all the wisdom of sea power was just made irrelevant by air power, and so I think it's just part of their culture, and certainly a
Hmm.
culture I understood and still understand very well, that you have a hierarchy and you teach downwards, and that they don't change quickly. And so it makes sense that the early adopter population wouldn't have many coming from the faiths, because these are very, we're going to keep things the way they are culture. So unless you've got some hard-headed kid like myself in the Catholic school that didn't listen to anybody no matter what and hated school, maybe that small tiny segment of the at least Catholic population would be a natural early fit for Bitcoin. But aside from that, that's why I think when you hear Trump supporting, Larry Fink supporting, states passing stuff, I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that needs to happen for those traditional cultures to open their ears and open their eyes just a little for Bitcoin wisdom to come in. Because if it doesn't look like it's accepted by the traditional institutions, they're not going to give it any time of day, no matter how much you talk, because this is not the early adopt. You're never going to convert that 80% in the middle to an early adopter crowd. Like they're never going to, they're going to be the last people to get the iPhone, the
Hmm.
last people to get on social media. And so I think that's what we're up against here. It's not necessarily Christians versus non-Christians or faith-based versus non-faith-based. It's early adopters versus that big middle crowd that's waiting for it to be just normal.
Yeah.
That's where I think your social layer that you're working on is a part of that, normalizing the user interface, making it just part of. It's kind of like, do you really know how text message works? Do you really know how email works? You just send the text and it goes. You don't understand the tech behind it. And I
Hmm.
think when Bitcoin becomes, am I using the right word? Ubiquitous, where it's
I
just
think so.
like, it's just normal,
Everywhere.
part of how we transact money. Yeah, it's not, what do you mean it's Bitcoin? It's just money. It's just like the dollar almost.
Hmm.
And I think that's when that population accepts it. But at that point, they're not really accepting it. There's the old tech doesn't even exist anymore.
Hmm.
Like, try to take a boat to Paris right now, because you're trying to get there fast. You know that it's like, no, we don't do that for fast travel. It's all air if you want to get there. If you want to go on a cruise, that's different. So I think that's where some of the, as much as we don't like it as Bitcoin, as we want it to happen faster, there's a big chunk of the population is not going to do it till the other system's just irrelevant. And I think
Yep.
it's our job to make it irrelevant.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said earlier, people get on board when they're ready. When they, and part of being ready is, yeah, seeing all that. I mean, I've told other people before that even now I'm still the only member of my family, like my siblings, my parents, who owns any Bitcoin. And my wife is the only member of her family, her siblings and parents, that owns any Bitcoin. So we got nobody else in our family, but we've talked to them all about it so much that we've tired them out about it. Some people got, a couple of them gotten quite, um, how can I put this gently? Just not happy about it. um, and other people is telling us like, oh, the government's going to shut down in the next few months here, and I just kind of waving it off. And then close up. They don't want to listen.
Now, how
But
are they responding to the political?
yeah,
By the way, I never expected the political support. If you had asked me that we would be where we are today, just even a year or two ago, I thought we were 10 years from where we are today. We've got I don't know if you know this, Louisiana just passed some of the strongest laws, support from both sides, unanimous support in the House, almost unanimous in the Senate, signed by the governor. And boom, Louisiana's got some of the best Bitcoin laws. And we're like one of 16 states now. And now with the presidents and Trump and stuff, I would have thought this would be like a 2030 conversation. And the
yeah.
fact that it's on
Given
top of
Agenda
it.
2030, I sure hope we'd be farther than this than in 2030. But still, yes. Yeah. I was actually gonna say my older sister, she's a pretty strong Trump supporter. I like Trump. I don't like the political system and voting and stuff, but I definitely like Trump. I'm not like a diehard Trump supporter or anything, but I'm like, yeah. And to be perfectly honest, actually, side note, he earned a lot more of my respect this last weekend. Not just because like, okay, wow, things are getting serious. And there's a lot of people who said like, oh, wow, since they just tried to take him out, I was on the fence. Now I'm going to vote for him. It was when he stood up and shook his fist and said, fight 3 times.
Yeah.
If I got shot in the ear, I can promise you that's not what I'm saying next. I'm saying, like that. But that guy is an absolute Chad, absolute boss. It just, like not only would I be screaming like that because I got shot in the ear, I'm also afraid that there's another shot coming from any direction that'll be in my head or my heart or something at any time. But his first thought wasn't on his own. Well, I mean, okay, his first thought was to duck down below the podium there. Like, very, very wise, very, very good, smart decision there. But as soon as he was up in front of the people again, it wasn't about himself, about his ear. He knew he could get shot again. He knew he was could be still in line of fire, but he wanted to inspire the audience. He wanted to inspire the other people, and that's what leaders do. They inspire people.
Right.
I do not agree with some of his politics, some of the things he says he wants to do. I have heard he wants to free Ross Ulbricht, and yes, please, and like let's do that yesterday. But excuse me. But still, I got massive respect for him when he did that. When I'm like, okay, he still had the presence of mind to be that leader, to be that inspirer of other people. Yeah, and so, So that was a side note. Sorry about that. My sister though is a strong Trump supporter, and she's been just kind of, I'm not really interested in Bitcoin, just kind of backing off. She and her husband actually work in the computer game industry, kind of like my dad used to, and they called me up one day just randomly and said, hey, so you're into Bitcoin and crypto and stuff. I'm like, just Bitcoin. She said, oh, okay. She said that there's some people they were contracted to work with who were considering adding basically NFT abilities within their game. So like you could own a sword or a shield or something that it's unique. It's the only one like that, even though it's just this easily copyable digital stuff. But she's like, yeah, I don't understand any of that, but I understand that's part of crypto and stuff. So I wanted your expertise on it. So I gave her my expertise. I told her my opinion on it. Said, no, that's all trash. Don't touch it. Don't do it. And I explained what NFTs are, why people think they're scarce, why they're actually not, and just why it's a big fad. Yeah. And so she was like, okay, so that was like the first positive conversation, and this is several months ago. But then, it was before the rally in Pennsylvania with Trump, maybe a week before then. I'm sorry, there's something going on with my throat. That's right. It was right after he announced that he was going to be in Nashville, and I'm going to be there in Nashville with one of my sons, my 4th son, my 12-year-old.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's coming with me, and we had no idea. about that. And, I mean, and like I said earlier, we're not strong Trump supporters, but yeah, we like him. I mean, if it comes between him and Biden, good grief, not even a choice. But yeah, well, then we found out about Trump being there, and my 12-year-old son was like, dude, like so excited.
Yeah.
Well, then I told my sister about it, and she had no idea that he was going to be speaking there, and she didn't even have an idea that he was accepting Bitcoin for donations, and that he had said positive things about Bitcoin and crypto. But still, you know, that's something. He's getting there. It's early on for him. And so yeah, I told her all about this, and that ignited the interest in her a little more. She asked me if his speech there was going to be recorded, and I was like, oh yeah, it'll be recorded by like professional recorders and stuff, and put up on YouTube. And she asked me to share that with her afterward. And so this is just the start of the gentle slope for her into Bitcoin, and at least I hope so. I hope it will be.
Yeah.
And
You ever
that's
Trump,
how it has to be for a lot of people.
have you ever heard Trump speak in public?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I watched some debates and stuff too. And yeah, as my sister would say, I've never been there in person. I was like watched them on YouTube videos and on TV sometimes and stuff. But this would be the first time to be there in person. And my sister, she's been there in person before, and she said, "Get ready, like buckle up. The energy will just be on fire.
Yeah.
Like, everything's just gonna be, so ecstatic there and stuff." So
it's a big difference. If you hear Trump speak in person, he brings a lot of energy to the stage. It's very compelling. You see a lot of converts right there in the audience, that people are just curious, but by the time Trump's finished with them in an in-person speech, it blows your mind away. And that's like, for the most part, I would say most of the Bitcoiners I know, especially even a lot of my co-hosts on the show, are very skeptical and very reserved. They're not necessarily anti-Trump, but they're just anti-government politics. They know that the whole system's built on theft, right? So they don't want to pour any energy to it. And I get that 100%. I'm right with them on there. I said,
Yep.
but when you hear Trump in person, and he is quite an orator, if I'm saying that right, orator, and he is going to speak to the Bitcoin people with his mouthpiece, and it's going to be, I can't wait to see their response, because when he came to Louisiana, he was nobody. I mean, he was Trump, but I was like, there's no way this guy's going to win. I said, but I got to go. And he gave like a 2-day notice and filled up the largest arena in Baton Rouge with a 2-day notice, doubled the capacity in there. They had like 7,000 people outside. And I'm looking around at all these people, and I'm like, why are you here? You know, I thought I was the only person that was going to show up to just listen. And he just killed it. And I guarantee you, he is going to kill it in Nashville. And the Bitcoiners are going to have to deal with it, because I've never seen him go to a speech and not know his audience. Before he speaks, he is going to know what our language, and Bitcoiners have their language. They have their, I mean, if you're new to Bitcoin, you feel lost for the first however long till you get the vocabulary of Bitcoin. He'll understand the vocabulary of Bitcoin. And what I've always said is, Bitcoin doesn't need you, you need Bitcoin. And what I'm hoping is that as Trump starts to prepare himself to speak to us, he's going to discover what we've discovered. Because it's like any good speaker does. If they do their homework, they prepare their speech well, and then they really start to understand the heart of the audience. And so that's what my hope is, that he gets orange pilled by trying to come to us. I mean, Michael Saylor did. I mean, look, he was anti-Bitcoin, and not no more.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him. Well, look, man, it's been an awesome interview. I really want to do this again and learn really more about, and maybe after the convention, we can speak about how to become an ambassador and really go deep into that, and maybe even help you try to recruit some more cities and stuff on here, because maybe just give a short commercial on the whole ambassador concept in case anybody listening, and then let's do a deep dive after Nashville on the whole ambassador for us Atlantis.
Yeah, for sure. And also, if anyone wants to look me up in Nashville at the conference, again, look for the really big booth, the 16-foot wide
Yeah.
booth that says Bitcoin Meetups up at the top. I'll be there most of the time. But yeah, so Satlantis has a bunch of different pages. Each page is for a city or other location. Once it gets big enough, we'll do like different boroughs and so inside some of the big cities. But and each of those cities will have at least one ambassador. There can be many in each one. But these ambassadors are people who know a lot about their city. It would help if they've lived there for a while, but there's no requirement for that or anything. Just that they know a lot about the city. So if someone were to, okay, so for those of you watching this, if someone were to come up to you and ask you, hey, where are the best places to go to in your city for blank? So I have a lot of kids and I want to do some fun activities with them. Where can I go? What can I do? My fiance and I are traveling and we're just passing through. We want a nice hotel with a restaurant in it, like a really nice restaurant in it. What's the best one for us? If you can answer those kind of questions or at least point them in the right direction or something, you'd be a good ambassador. Just to answer questions about about your hometown. It doesn't have to be the hometown you live in. Like I said, I live in a little town called Rossville, Georgia, about half hour south of Chattanooga, and I'm the ambassador in Chattanooga. Later on, when Satlantis is bigger and a lot more people are using it, I think I'll back off from being the Chattanooga ambassador and be the Rossville ambassador once there's enough users for Rossville to be on the map, like on the website. But yeah, so they do that, and so ambassadors do that, and then also help to moderate the chats, the events, the posts that are being put on Satlantis. That's really, well, I guess that, and then getting more people on there to use Satlantis. As more people get on there, basically, yeah, you need to help with that network effect. As more people get on there, more people will want to get on there. And we're going to have a list of merchants on there where every merchant and every point of interest in a city will already be listed on there. But if you are a merchant, you can go on to Satlantis and claim your merchant profile. You don't have to create one; you just claim it, and then the color coding on the map will change to say, "Oh, this business is on Nostr, and here's all their information and stuff." And then people will be able to write reviews right there on Satlantis. They don't even have to accept Bitcoin. However, part of the magic of Satlantis is that people will, the business owners will start to see how many people there are in that city using Satlantis and realize all those people, I'm getting exposure to all those people, and all these people are primarily Bitcoiners. That's our first demographic we're going after. First vertical really is Bitcoiners for like this first year or so. But yeah, they'll see that and put two and two together. If I start accepting Bitcoin, I will rise above all the other businesses listed on this page for this city. Everyone else will start to see me and say, hey, they're a little bit more expensive and the quality is about the same as the other place, but they accept Bitcoin, and Bitcoiners will flock there. Say, hey, anything to help the overall mission, help with Bitcoin adoption. And so, yeah, so Satlantis kind of provides that avenue towards hyper Bitcoinization, or just more Bitcoin adoption. Not sure about the hyper part, but more Bitcoin adoption. Yeah, and so yeah, ambassadors have that job to help assist with people getting onboarded. We're making it really easy. So even though Satlantis is built on top of Nostr, if you don't have a Nostr account, you can sign up on Satlantis just with a email address and password, like most other websites. However, if you're already on Nostr and you want to have your same Nostr ID, your same Nostr account, both in Damus or Primal or Amethyst or something, and also on Satlantis, for now, the only way to sign in with that same Nostr NSEC and NPub is to be on desktop and use a what's called a browser extension, something like Albi or Keys.band, a bunch of other extensions, Flamingo and others. But those first two are my favorites. Yeah, put your NSEC in there so it can sign for you, sign into Satlantis for you, so you don't have to be copy pasting your NSEC all the time. Later we'll come up with a solution to have Satlantis available on mobile for people who are already on Nostr. But for now, if you're not on Nostr, you can just sign in mobile, desktop. Either way, just email address and password. You can do that too if you're already on Nostr, but it's just going to create a new Nostr NSEC and NPub, a whole new Nostr account for you on the back end. But that way, total normies, people who don't know about Nostr, don't care about Nostr, can get on Satlantis and not even know that it's on Nostr yet. Then maybe it can be the thing that purple pills them.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
well, I'd love for you to kind of help me if you don't mind. I want to get this show on Nostr. I've finally got it on YouTube. I've got it on Facebook. We've got, of course, we started here on X, but I feel like Nostr is like the final frontier for all things social media, totally decentralized. I don't know as much about it from a practitioner standpoint, but from a theoretical standpoint, I'm in. So now it's just a matter of doing the proof of work and getting all this content on Nostr. So maybe I can reach out to you and you can help me with that, because I really do want to support it.
Yeah, look up something called Nostr Nests. That might help you with that. It's like Twitter Spaces, but for Nostr.
Okay, I'll start there. Well, Jason, thank you so much. And for those of you who would like to meet me and Jason, we'll be at the same table, along with a lot of the other meetups organizers. If you're a meetup organizer or you want to be or learn more about meetup organization, stop by the table. We'd love to all meet you in person. If you're thinking about starting a meetup, I promise you there's somebody else in your city that's probably thinking the same thing. One of you just need to make a move and you'll find the other person. And then reach out to me or Jason or Kendall or any of the meetup organizers that are kind of connected nationally, and we can help you find somebody in your city for sure, and definitely be a resource for you to take the leap and start a Bitcoin meetup. I promise you won't regret it. You'll love. It's almost like you'll have an extended family in the Bitcoin community locally. So
one small thing about that, actually. So I mentioned the booth earlier. At the end of the conference, so last day of the conference, Saturday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. In the Carl Dean Ballroom. That's basically the whole fourth floor of the Music City Center. We will be, I should say, I will be hosting a meetup there for everyone who is already a meetup organizer, and anyone who wants to be a meetup organizer. So if you are one, or you want to start a meetup in your area, you just don't know how, don't know if you have the time, you just don't know a lot of things, a lot of unknowns for you, come to that meeting. So that'll be Saturday the 27th, 4 to 5 p.m. in the Carl Dean Ballroom.
Fantastic, man! I can't wait. Well, I will be seeing you in 7 days or 8 days, something like that.
Yeah, probably 8 or 9 days. I'll be there that Friday morning.
Okay, Friday. Yeah, so I'll be there. Yeah. I think I'm going to be there on Tuesday, so I'll be there a couple days early. Yeah. Just to hang out with some friends of mine. But well, thank you so much for the interview. I'll send you this link. And for any of you guys who want to learn more about Jason, look at his DMs are open on X. The projects they're working on is great, and come meet us in person. Thank you so much for your time, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. If any of you want to be an ambassador, just reach out to me and I'll send you the info that you need.
Fantastic. Thank you, man.
Yep. Have a good day. Thank you. Yep. Bye.
All right. All right. Let's see. That was another great interview with Jason. He is one of the guys working on Satlantis. He is also quite a force to be reckoned with that Kendall introduced me to. Thank you, Kendall. She's the co-host, or the host for rather, Meetup Monday. I'll go ahead and run through the shows once again. Every day, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on X, we have 2 hours of live Bitcoin content, each with a different theme, each with a very talented, gifted host that does a lot of work on pre-production, post-production to give you really good, clear Bitcoin signal. On Mondays, it's about meetups. Kendall runs that one. On Tuesdays, it's for content creators. If you're creating any type of content, we have a lot of gifted content creators, and a content creator runs the whole thing. Weston, also known as BT Cosmonaut, is his handle on X, does a fantastic job. If you're new to Bitcoin and trying to understand what is money, the history of money, what is Bitcoin, we have 2 unbelievable educators. They're based in El Salvador, former teachers and PhDs that have dedicated their life to teaching. That's Diana and Joel. They also just wrote a book. Diana wrote a book called Shells to Satoshis. It's only available, I think, digitally right now, but they should be getting some hard copies or paperbacks pretty soon. I can't wait to get one of those. You can meet them in El Salvador. They're part of a big, I think in November, I'll get the dates for y'all on that, but they're hosting a big Bitcoin conference in El Salvador. They're one of the organizers. I'm going to try my best to make it because I've never been to El Salvador. Who doesn't want to go to the epicenter of Bitcoin? So they run our Wednesday show. Thursday is Brad. Brad is the president of the Bitcoin Daily Show. He is super gifted. I know we don't hear from him a lot. He'll pop up and speak, but he's typically the guy behind the scenes organizing all the show hosts. So I appreciate you so much, Brad. Could not be doing this without you. We look organized and like we know what we're doing primarily because of the work Brad does behind the scenes. But Thursday, he runs the show with Macro Minutes. Matt is also very gifted rower, man. I can't brag on this guy enough. Unbelievable athlete. But they are engineers. They work on the mining side of Bitcoin, and they're both professionals in energy, grid scale energy, and how the production of energy and mining intersect, and how this is going to be a game changer for energy production worldwide. So then Friday is our Bitcoin is Life. That's Tracy and Hector. Man, they are just like powerhouse. These two guys, they go find people that have dedicated their whole life to Bitcoin, bring them on the show. Some of the best guests I've ever seen, guest speakers. So they run a really good, feel good show about Bitcoin just taking over. Saturday is our TradFi. TJ up in Canada. He runs that with two Wall Street analysts. I think both of I know one of them is from New York, but Frank lives in Miami. I forget where Mark is, but these are both very smart Wall Street analysts that understand Bitcoin. Also with TJ, great stage. So if you want to hear about what Wall Street thinks about Bitcoin, what the institutional money thinks, traditional finance, the ETFs, this is where all that discussion happens. Now, Saturday, we have two shows back to back. So after the TradFi show, we roll straight to James' show. He's out of Spain, and he goes and finds these founders of these circular economies throughout the planet that are using Bitcoin as a means of exchange. A great example is Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador. But there are little bright spots throughout the planet that James will go find that are doing exactly that are running on a Bitcoin standard. Amazed at how much this is just a grassroots effort happening everywhere right now, real time. And then that goes into my show on Sunday, Philosophy Sundays, where we just go into the deeper meanings of life, the deeper meanings of Bitcoin, how Bitcoin kind of speaks to man's quest for truth. And we all just get to nerd out on philosophical thoughts and answer those deep questions. So thank you all so much. Of course, we're right on the heels of the big Bitcoin convention. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, or you need a place to stay, Brad has got a huge block of rooms and they're going fast. So if you go into the Tuesday show, or actually just on the main account, the pinned post has the hotel blocks that you can still get the rooms. And I think he's offering a lot of other stuff to go along with it. Don't just get the rooms, you get some other perks and stuff. So please go to the conference. If you have not been to a conference yet of any type, this is the biggest one in the country, but there are also other good ones. I encourage all of you to do in-person events, because until you go to a big in-person event, even a meetup, or especially something like they're throwing in Nashville. David, by the way, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing to put that on. David actually owns the Bitcoin magazine, and his company runs the Bitcoin convention that was done in Miami, and that is being done here in Nashville, and just puts on a great show. And so it definitely is a place where you can meet fellow Bitcoiners and really experience the spirit of the Bitcoin movement. I guess that's what I would call it. So please get your tickets. Please get out there. And I will be along with Jason and Kendall and a lot of the other meetup organizers. They've given us a table to just 2 tables for meetups and meetups organizers. So come say hello, take a picture with us. I'll be there pretty much the whole time along with the others. Can't wait to see y'all, meet y'all in person. I will be there probably around Tuesday. So hit me up in the DMs if you're around. Let's go have some coffee, have a beer. I think we have a day that we're working out together. maybe go for a run or anything like that. Can't wait to see y'all, meet my Bitcoin family in person. Looking forward to it. Love you guys. Y'all have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see y'all in the morning. Thanks a lot. Bye.